Alright folks, we're going to be doing another video debunking some atheist arguments, and as always we're going to take the wonderful, beautiful Yamaha R1. Now, some of you that are very, very intelligent like Christians, you're going to admit that this is a product of intelligent design. Now, atheists have a problem with, they have a big problem with intelligent design. They don't want to say it's a product of intelligent design. They hate intelligent design. It's almost like, you know, atheism is this fear that God exists. And I like to say that atheism is a crutch for those timid souls that are afraid to confront the reality of God. So we're going to be going on a road I've never been on before. I've got some messages from you guys saying, you've got to go over to this road over here, and I put the address in my GPS, and so we're going to be taking the motorcycle over there. At the same time, you'll have a beautiful view to look at, we hope. I've never been there. They say it's like wine country, so it should be pretty beautiful. And we're going to be debunking the following people: Hitchens, Neil Tyson, DeGrasse Tyson, George Carlin, Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins. So let's get on, and we'll start off with Christopher Hitchens. And if you guys would be so kind, click share below this video and send this to one of your sweet, cuddly atheist friends. Now, if the camera is kind of pointing up a little bit, let not your heart be troubled. When we get on the bike, it's going to be leaning forward like that. So here we go. Okay. This is the start button here. We have the little kill switch here. We're switching it to on. We're going to turn the key on here. The bike comes to life, at least as far as the battery power. Now we're going to start it. And then what we'll do is we'll give it a few revs. As you guys know, this is the throttle, this is the front brake, this is the rear brake, this is the clutch, and this down here is the gear shift lever where we shift. So let's see where we're going. So it wants us to go out here and go right, and let's start off with who's on our list: Hitchens, and then Tyson, let's see, George Carlin. Hitchens, Tyson, George Carlin. Okay, so Hitchens, by the way, approaches the process of trying to debunk God the wrong way, okay? And before we get started, I want to tell you guys how to approach talking with atheists. I used to be an atheist, so I do feel qualified to tell you how to approach atheists where you can get through their thick skulls of mush. Thick and mushy. So it wants us to go right here. When you approach an atheist, approach it like this. Talk about all the different things in the world. Talk about science. Talk about creation. You could talk about evolution. Talk about all those things. Okay, it's telling us to go this way. And then ask them, what is the best explanation of these things? That's how you want to frame the conversation with atheists, because what they'll do, they are the king and queen of straw man arguments. Atheists love straw man arguments. Make sure the camera should be able to see my arms. Just pretend my arms are your arm. So atheists will bring up some fallacies in Islam, and they'll say, therefore God doesn't exist, when the two are not linked together. You could say Islam is incorrect, but you can't say God doesn't exist. So they'll bring up these fallacies. So what you want to do, so they don't bring up fallacies and straw man arguments, is talk to them about different things like the historic person of Jesus Christ. Talk to them about the creation of the universe, the beginning of the universe. Talk to them about these things, and then ask them, oh, by the way, talk to them about the amazing design within the human body. talk to them about these things, and then from there you're going to debate them on what is the best explanation of these things. So who are we starting with? Hitchens. Hitchens was in debate, and we're going to debunk Christopher Hitchens now. And by the way, everything I'm telling you, you could see proof and evidence of this right below here. When you go to the websites below, you can see Hitchens talking about this. Everything, I'm backing it up with proof and evidence. I see why they wanted me to go here. It's getting to be like an open, mountainous territory. So Hitchens says, what are the odds? What are the odds? What are the chances that the universe just happened to be this way for, you know, the perpetuation of our species, or that God created it this way? Now, if you notice the way Hitchens says it, he says, what are the odds that God created it this way, or that chance did it? And what he's talking about, which is amazing, this is one of the main things that caused me to leave the fairy tale of atheism. Atheism lacks explanatory scope. Christianity explains everything, but atheism cannot explain anything. It cannot explain the design we have in the world. It cannot explain what I'm going to talk about now, the teleological argument. Sometimes people call it the teleological argument. But in order for you and I to be on this earth, there's hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of things that have to take place just exactly for us to be living on this earth. Now, Hitchens is trying to convince the rational world that it is luck and dumb luck and chance. But the majority of the world disagreed with Hitchens, and they believe that it is due to intelligent design. So, not just hundreds upon hundreds of things that have to be just right in order for us to have life here. And then I'm going to show you how they try to debunk it, but then I'm going to debunk their errored way of debunking it. Let's pick up the throttle here. It's a great road. I see what they mean. Livestock, horses. We're not even there yet, where we're supposed to be, because this isn't wine country. This is more like horse country. So Hitchens is saying that it's all luck, and there was an explosion that happened. This is the atheist argument. It happened, but they don't know how it happened. Lawrence Krauss is trying to posit, Lawrence Krauss is an atheist, he's trying to posit that nothing created the universe, which is also madness. But Hitchens is saying that it's just dumb luck and chance that we're here. And then here's the argument they use, and it doesn't make sense. They'll say, well, the fact that we're here noticing it, how you doing, brother? The fact that we're here noticing it is obvious that we wouldn't be here noticing it unless the earth was created allowing us to live on this earth. It's like a really ridiculous argument. It's not even addressing the problem of why are we here when there's only life here on this planet and there's not life anywhere else. They're not going to find life anywhere else. They keep saying they could have life over here or life over here, and they always talk about these little microscopic organisms in the dirt. They're not going to find life anywhere else. But and I mean like life like ours, not like little microscopic organism thing. So in a great way of debunking this, John Lennox defeated Christopher Hitchens in debate, and get this, I have the actual video where Hitchens admits that he lost the debate to John Lennox, and then he admits, well, there was a vote taken also, and the majority of people by far, it wants me to go right here, okay, said that John Lennox defeated Christopher Hitchens, but Christopher Hitchens agreed with the vote, and he said, yeah, you know, I was defeated. So here's the response to that stupid rebuttal. Well, the fact that we're here noticing it shouldn't surprise us because we're already here, and let me get over here. We're already here, and it shouldn't surprise us that we're here, because if we weren't here, we wouldn't notice it. That's not addressing the issue of why are we here. There's not life anywhere else. If life was the product of chance, you'd see it scattered throughout the universe. Why is it created right here on this planet only? If you get a bunch of quarters or pennies, dimes, and you throw it on your kitchen floor, they're not all going to stack up on each other unless you actually physically stack them up on each other. And let's say you did that. I said, throw a bunch of coins on the kitchen floor, and then I told you, go around the side of the wall there, I'll call you when I'm done. And then I like stack up, wait a minute, wants me to go left here of all things. And I stack up all the coins on top of each other. You wouldn't say, oh, they randomly just went on top of each other. You would say, even though you didn't see it, you would say an intelligent agent stacked those coins up there. I hope this doesn't get all gravelly. Road's starting to look bad. Another good analogy to debunk this argument when they say, well, the fact that you're here noticing it shouldn't surprise you, because if life wasn't, if the constants, it's called the life permitting constants, were not just so, you wouldn't be here anyways to notice it. But it's amazing, I can't believe it's dumb luck and chance, how much had to go right for us to have life here. And there's nothing in natural law that says that life should have been this way. Like, there's no natural reason why life should be here on this planet. Okay, good. The road is getting better. So one good analogy I heard to debunk that stupid argument, well, if you weren't here, then you wouldn't notice that life is here on Earth, so, you know, the fact that you're noticing it is obvious. No, it's like this. Let's say, and you've probably heard this, but take it for what it's worth. Let's say that you are in front of a firing squad, and there's 12 guys with guns aimed right at your heart, and you're like arrested, and you're sentenced to death, and they have these trumped up charges on you. They're not even real, but they're going to shoot you at dawn. And so dawn comes, the time comes for you to get shot, and you're blindfolded, and all the guns fire, and none of them shoot you. You wouldn't think, wow, they all got lucky and they all missed me. 12 people aiming right at your heart. You wouldn't say that. You would say, no, something's going on here. They chose to miss shooting me. And the fact that you're questioning it is logical. In other words, we should question, why are we here on this earth and there's no life anywhere else? So the fact where Hitchens says, you know, it's either luck or God did it, it seems to me that an intelligent agent obviously is involved. It seems obvious. You don't even have to beg the question. But the fact that we don't see life anywhere else, and the fact that the odds are just astronomical that we have life here and nowhere else, it doesn't seem rational, and we're going left up here, it doesn't seem rational or logical that luck did it. Remember the coins and the kitchen analogy? If luck did it after this massive explosion they call the Big Bang, if luck did it, we would see life scattered here, randomly. But remember, the coins all stacked up on each other. When everything's focused and fine-tuned, this is a indication that intelligent design was viewed. I know atheists hate intelligent design, but let's see what else we got here. Oh yeah, Neil Tyson, that chubby atheist. He said, Neil deGrasse Tyson, he said that there's no such thing as demon possession. He said, we know when someone is on the ground frothing at the mouth, it is an epileptic seizure. Well, Neil really needs to research demon possession because the demons can affect you physically. Everyone knows that the demons can affect you physically. This looks like it's a big dam over here on the left. Make sure I have enough gas wherever we're going. About 8 miles away from wherever this thing is taking us. So the fact that someone gets thrown on the ground and has epileptic seizures, yes, it could be an epileptic seizure, but also demons can cause these seizures. What the heck? Look at this hill. It's like a roller coaster. Who else we have on the list? George Carlin, the hippy-dippy weatherman. George Carlin gets it all wrong. He says that religion would have you believe that there's an invisible man in the sky walking around watching everything you do. Now, I've talked to a lot of people, and I always ask them this question when I remember to ask it. I'll say, do you believe in an invisible man in the sky? Looks like it's turning to the left here. That's walking around watching everything you do. You know, there's not a Christian I know that has said yes to that. Even Muslims say, no, I don't believe there's an invisible man in the sky. Who are these people that Carlin's talking about that believe that there's an invisible man in the sky? Now, it looks like there's a sharp corner here, but I'm not seeing it. Oh, I see it. We had to go over this little crest here. This is nice. Get on it a bit. So, another error that Carlin makes is he says, and this invisible man has a set of 10 things you cannot do. Now, I think George Carlin's dead, and no disrespect to the dead, but when you read the 10 Commandments, there's positive commands. Love, honor your mother and father, treat your neighbor as yourself, worship God alone. You know what I mean? There's positive commandments. So I don't know why Carlin was saying that. So nobody believes that there's an invisible man in the sky, and this is like one of their best arguments, they say. I don't see any wine country yet, but we're supposed to be coming up to it. All right, 50 miles per hour. Let me see something. Hold on, I got a corner here, and then we'll look at what the next... Where the heck is this taking me? Like out in the middle of nowhere. Let's shift up. All right, good. Now we can see what's going on here. Okay, we did George Carlin. Who's next? I can do this by memory now. Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins. Okay, let's do Richard Dawkins first. Richard Dawkins was doing one of his seminars. Very bumpy. And a girl got up in the crowd and said, "What if you're wrong?" And Richard Dawkins went nuts. "What if you're wrong? What do you mean, what if I'm wrong? I don't want to think about that." But he said, this is like one hilly road that they're sending me to here. So we have a good thing about GPS is you really can't get in trouble because you have, it tells you where the corners are and everything, unless of course the GPS is outdated. So right after this hill, there's a corner to the right. Oh, it's way up there. This is actually a very, very fun road. We're 5 miles away. So, but let me answer the question for Richard Dawkins. This is Occam's razor. And, I'm sorry, this is not Occam's razor. Hold on a second. I'm looking at the GPS. Okay, this was the corner that was supposed to be, it's Pascal's wager, by the way, but this is the corner that was supposed to be sharp, but it doesn't look that sharp. And this is the wine country. It looks like we're starting to enter it. It is pretty beautiful. Wow, vineyards and vineyards as far as you can go. But this is Pascal's wager. And Pascal's wager, I love Pascal's wager, and I'll tell you why. It makes sense. Because whenever I do debates, I'll ask people, I'll say, now you notice that if more than 50% of all the arguments and more than 50% of the debate is on my side, in other words, I won the debate, and I'm going to put a bunch of debates I've had below. We always win the debates, very humbly speaking, as I bow my head to the ground. Bow it to the ground. But let's say that you and I are reasonable people. Let's say you're a Christian and I'm an atheist. I know that's an oxymoron, reasonable atheist, but you know what atheism stands for, by the way? Their worldview. How do you spell it? atheism. Here's what it stands for. All the evil, intolerance, sin. I'm sorry, I missed one. All the hate. They're sure hateful. All the hate, evil, intolerance, sin, and madness. That's what atheism stands for. If you want to remember what atheism stands for, just remember the letters atheism. All the hate, evil, intolerance, sin, and madness. You know what I don't like about atheism? They want to stop your right to pray. They don't want you to pray in schools. They don't want you to pray anywhere. They don't want you to mention God anywhere. Hey, look, we're not stopping you from talking about nothing. We're not stopping you. You want to talk about nothing? Go ahead. You guys, you atheists are jealous that we have something good and wholesome and holy to talk about. But anyways, so Richard Dawkins says, well, what if you're wrong? Let me answer that question for Richard Dawkins. If God exists, how you doing, brother? Then Richard Dawkins goes to hell. I hate to say it, but that's where he's going. I don't want him to go to hell, but Jesus spoke of hell more than any other person in Scripture. I don't want him to go to hell, but that's where he's going. And Richard Dawkins says there's nothing after this life. So if Richard Dawkins is right, there's nothing after this life. This fishing pole, I didn't see it. In that guy's truck on the left-hand side. So Pascal's wager makes sense. Even if 50% of your brain is thinking, well, maybe God exists. Even though Scripture says that all people know that God exists. Says that unless you're kind of like mentally deficient. But all people know God exists. It says it right there in the first 2 pages of Romans. And that we have no excuse. But 50% of your brain, let's say you and I are reasonable people, and let's just pretend I'm an atheist. I left that fairy tale. But let's just say I was an atheist, and I'm like, well, 50% of me says God could exist, you know, and yes, Jesus is really the Messiah and all this. And by the way, this is a beautiful ride. Thank you for telling me about it. This is awesome. Look at all these vineyards. And 50% of your brain says no. You're more rational to choose on the side that God exists because you get all these benefits. You get heaven, life eternal, fellowship with God. You get to hang out with all your Christian friends in heaven. You get to, this is something weird on the GPS here. It's like a roundabout thing. What am I doing here? So, it it makes sense. That's why the girl asked the question, what if you're wrong? And of course, Dawkins says, well, what if it's Juju on the mountain or the flying spaghetti monster? Okay, but just answer the question. What if you're wrong? It's like what he should have said, and just be truthful. Everyone knows this is the truth. If Richard Dawkins is wrong, unfortunately, I'm not happy about it, he's going to hell. If he's right, because he says that there's nothing after he dies, if he's right, then he ceases to exist. Well, wouldn't it be more rational when you think about it to just become a Christian then? I mean, after all, it's been proven that Christians live happier lives. The suicide rate in atheism is higher than in Christianity. It's been proven that Christians are more giving. You know, atheists really don't give a lot. They're selfish. I don't mean all of them, but overall as a whole. So it just seems you have everything to gain and nothing to lose. All right, Sam Harris. Sam Harris, I call him the Eeyore of atheism. You know who Eeyore, that cartoon character? Hey, wait a minute. They wanted me to turn there. Good deal. We're just going to stay here because that was just the address to get me to this point. But Sam Harris said that God is very interested in what we do while we're naked and who we have sex with and all that. And I have read scripture. I've read the Bible many times. And every time I read the Bible, I don't see where God's obsessed with it. Sam Harris is just a pervert. Sam Harris, the Ben Stiller lookalike. Doesn't Sam Harris look like Ben Stiller from Zoolander? Now, what's really great is if someone comes up to you and says, well, why are you a Christian? All you got to remember is the word alive, A-L-I-V-E, A-L-I-V-E. That's all you got to remember. And each letter stands for something. You know how atheism stands for something? A is for all, T is for the, hate, evil, intolerance, sin, madness. That's atheism. All the hate, evil, intolerance, sin, madness. But alive stands for something. Hold on. Alive stands for something. Why do I believe that Jesus Christ resurrected? I, honest to goodness, really believe this. Because A is for the appearances in alive. All the disciples claim to have appearances and see appearances of Jesus Christ after he was crucified. So that we have to say, why would they say that and then choose these horrible deaths for nothing, unless they believe that they were actually going to inherit eternal life? L is for the low status of women. The first people to see Jesus Christ were the women. If you're going to make up a story, you're not going to use women. You would use men, because in that culture, women's testimony was not as considered as weighty, as powerful, as valid as a man's testimony. But the men were cowards. They were afraid to go to the tomb. So the fact that we have Jesus Christ appearing to the women first, and you have this level of embarrassment, it adds more truth to the claim that Jesus indeed did rise from the dead. I is for the immediate proclamation. Muslims and atheists alike will be dishonest and say, well, it's like the game of telephone where one person says something and another person says something, and years go down the line and then the story changes that Jesus rose from the dead. But immediately they were proclaiming Jesus was resurrected. They were even in the streets of Jerusalem proclaiming it. And thousands were becoming Christian. Would you die for a lie if you knew it was a lie? V is for the voluntary suffering. The disciples really, truly believed that they saw Jesus Christ alive again. We know that because they voluntarily suffered and went to their death. Even John, who penned Revelation, was the only disciple who didn't die. Eventually died of natural causes. But they even tried to kill him. E is for the empty tomb. Even the most staunch atheist has to admit that the tomb was empty, because the Jews that had Jesus Christ killed at that time were saying, well, they're saying he's resurrected, but it's because the disciples of Jesus stole the body. This is proof and evidence that indeed Jesus was not in the tomb. I do believe Jesus was alive right after his crucifixion, just like I do believe that atheism stands for all the hate, evil, intolerance, sin, and madness. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great week. No, it's telling me to go. How you doing, brother? Oh, here it is. This is where I want to go. So I heard at Christmas time, this area over here actually has like an ice skating rink they put out, which is pretty cool. Santiago. Very hot in California. Let's go. We're going to open up the visor here since we're going slow, get some air in. So notice I'm in first right now. What you do, you just kind of keep slow throttle, keep the throttle on right here, and you're okay. So we're going to show you what happens, how to stop. Let's get somewhere we can stop. There's no stop sign here, is there? I don't think so. No. Okay, here's the stop sign. So watch this. Clutch in, I'm still in gear, right? And then I'm putting the brake on right here. Now notice the clutch lever is still held in over here on the left. So basically, you're still in gear, you let the clutch lever out, make sure you have a little space, pull the clutch lever back in. This R1, I'm on a Yamaha R1. These R1s run very, very hot when they're just sitting on a hot day. So it wants to get going. So if I have time, I'm going to show you some freeway riding. So notice you just let the clutch out. I close my visor so people don't think I'm talking to myself. So you let the clutch out, and I'm just kind of walking it. I'm not even giving it throttle. Some bikes are different.